Alrighty, SY Sports back with another college football video, and now we are on to the least talented teams in the Power 5, or what I like to call the bottom 10. So these teams you should expect to be not that good this year. However, there are factors where you bring in a brand new coach who could spark everything. You have a great quarterback transfer in, or a freshman or whatever, boost the program, or this is year two and you're kind of like revamped your roster and now you're kind of getting the way you like it. And so you're kind of like on that rise factor. So there are different factors to this. However, strictly going off what's on the roster right now and talent, and this is the bottom 10 of the Power 5. Coming in at number 10, excuse me, whoa. I believe there is no number 10. I think there's a bunch of ties. Oh, there is. Okay. So there's a bunch of ties for 10th. That's what I remember. You have Arizona, Minnesota, Northwestern, and Syracuse all at 228. Now, like I've said, there are factors. So, like, Arizona seems to be on the rise. Good recruiting class. Top 25 class after only having one win. That's insane. Minnesota, they have a good coach. They have good quarterback. I just think seeing that talent at 228 was very interesting because they seem to have the best running back in the Big Ten. They have a top 5. If Tanner Morgan has a 2019 season, excuse me, they have a top 3 quarterback. And PJ Fleck, who I think is a very underrated coach. Northwestern at 228. Yes, they went 3-9 last year, but they went 3-9 before and then won the West Division. So I wouldn't put the hate on Pat Fitzgerald. So that comes down to good coaching. And Syracuse, I don't really know. Dino Babers has had one good year, and then they seem to be better last year. However, don't know what to expect. There's no consistency there. Now, they did bring in Garrett Schrader from Mississippi State, so maybe they play better than what the rating says. But for now, I would kind of expect them to be right there where they're at. All right. I believe there is no number 9. I think there's a tie for 8th. Aha, I remembered. All right. Tied for 8th is Duke and Louisville, both at 224, both in the ACC. Now, Duke may be even worse in their talent rating. It just depends on how good Mike Elko is as a coach. There's really nothing there. Don't expect any surprising quarterback to come out. However, for Louisville, their talent rating is low, but they have Malik Cunningham, who I think is a dark horse to win the Heisman. I'm thinking of throwing money on him to win the Heisman. I could see Louisville as high as winning the Atlantic Division, or I could see him as low as missing a bowl game. So I think, and plus Scott Satterfield, I really like him as a coach. So I can expect Louisville to play better than what the rating says. Number 7, Illinois, the rating of 222. Now this is one of those kind of starting to rebuild. I trust Brett Bielema. Now I'm not saying he's this all-time great coach, but he did win at Wisconsin. He did have some decent seasons at Arkansas. He totally revamped this roster. He basically made a 2-10 team from last year go 5-7. Had beat Penn State on the road. Had some good upsets. But he's totally revamped this roster, so the roster rating's a little low. I wouldn't expect him. I would expect him to look better, but I wouldn't expect their record to be better than last year, if that makes sense. I just think from last year's team, they did lose quite a few, but like I've said, he's revamped his roster, so I believe Illinois is on the rise. So I wouldn't expect better than 5-7. I would expect worse this year. Number 6, West Virginia at 217. Now this one was shocking because I thought West Virginia would be way more talented, but they're not. And it just kind of blew me away. However, they do have JT Daniels now. JT Daniels isn't consistent, so if he doesn't stay healthy, they're screwed. If he doesn't pan out to the potential that I think he could be, they're screwed, because I believe without JT Daniels, this team is god-awful. I haven't seen Neil Brown proven himself to do anything in the Power 5, so West Virginia is kind of basing their season on JT Daniels' potential, and I'm not 100% certain that 100% certain that JT Daniels can do it. However, if he does do it, I'd expect him to be pretty good and competing for the Big 12. So, West Virginia, 6th worst talented team. Gotta trust JT Daniels, and that's a lot to handle for one player. So, coming in at number 5, Washington State, the rating of 214. Now, kind of the same deal with West Virginia. However, their talent rating seems to be right where I thought they'd be, kind of the lower side of the Pac-12. However, they brought in, I think his name's Cam Ward from Incarnate Ward State or something. He seems like he's some stud. However, he hasn't played Power 5 football, so we don't know. But he may be the real deal. If he is, expect Washington State to be better. If not, expect them to be, 4-8, 5-7, 6-6, somewhere in there. Coming in at number 4, the 4th least talented team in the Power 5 is Oregon State with a rating of 210. This is pretty much right for me. They've never been really talented. They seem to have a few seasons where they kind of go up on the rise. However, they had a good season last year, and Jonathan Smith is their head coach, and I think he's a very underrated coach. So I'd expect them to be 7-5 again. I wouldn't expect anything higher. But they seem to have quite a few players still returning from last year, so maybe they do better. Who knows? But I wouldn't expect anything more than like 7-5. I'd expect a bowl game, but I wouldn't expect a good bowl game. Number 3, the 3rd least talented team in the Power 5 is Kansas State at 209. Now, Kansas State has never been talented. However, they've always had good quarterbacks and good defenses. So I trust Chris Kleiman. I really like him as a coach. I think he's the perfect spot for replacing Bill Snyder. And I really like that they brought Adrian Martinez from Nebraska. Now, I know Adrian Martinez has had turnover problems, but his potential, I think, is through the roof still. And I think Kansas State is a better destination than in Nebraska. And I think Adrian Martinez can really carry Kansas State to a good season. Now, I know everyone's picking them kind of as like a underdog to win the Big 12, so I may not do that since everybody else is doing it. So, but I would expect 8-4, 9-3 kind of season, especially if Adrian Martinez plays and doesn't turn over the ball as much. The 2nd least talented team in the Power 5 is Kansas. They're rating at 204. Now, you would think they're at the bottom. However, they've recruited well, and I really like their head coach, Lance Leopold. I think he's the perfect guy for the job to rebuild, take his time and rebuild a program. Now, Kansas may never be, this dominant program in the Big 12. However, I think you're going to start seeing, now I'm not saying this season, but you're going to start seeing Kansas kind of rise up, and I think you're going to consistently see them under Lance Leopold start going to bowl games. Now, this 204 rating, it is better. However, it's not where you want to be, and it's still kind of like that 3-win threshold number. So if they can win more than 3 games this year, that's a success. I'd expect 3 wins, but anything more is just gravy, I think, and it's kind of showing the slow build up for Kansas. It's a little longer of a rebuild there just because of how god-awful they've been in the past. Now, coming in at number 1, the least talented team in the entire country, Power 5-wise, is Arizona State at 194. This one's kind of depressing because I really liked Herm Edwards. However, they had all those allegations, and they've just lost everybody through the transfer portal. It just sucks because I thought they were going to be really good for the Pac-12. It was something different. Another team kind of coming into the conference winner playoff contention picture, but after everything that happened, I just don't see that ever happening now. So, unfortunately, Arizona State at 194, below the 200 threshold. I wouldn't expect anything. Now, they do have an easier schedule this year throughout the country, but I mean, I don't think they're going to make a bowl game. I think if they go, if they win more than 4 games, I think that'll be a success. But there's just a lot of turmoil there, and I don't expect a lot. So that's your bottom 10 for the Power 5. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I think there's a lot of potential for some of these teams, like very high potential for some of these teams, especially if their quarterbacks pan out. And some of the coaches in this list are very underrated. So, yeah, let me know what you think down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. See ya.